Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. It is your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing. Today, we're discussing a model launched in 2004, 5 years into Swatch Group's ownership of the Breguet brand. The Breguet Marine Big Date, was launched to create an anchor for Breguet's sports watch collection, and truly it is that. Breguet was a supplier of timing instruments and navigation clocks to the French Navy, the Marin Militaire. It is the naval link that gives this watch its name, Horloger de la Marine. And on the reverse side, we have a movement that will be the second portion of this video. Now, we have a dial that is made of solid gold and cut on a rose lathe inside a case that is made of solid gold. 39 millimeters in yellow gold. It's actually quite slim, at 12.2 millimeters thick, so think Rolex Daytona, and you have the idea of the thickness. From lug to lug, it's got a broad stance at 50.1 millimeters across the wrist, with a 20 millimeter spacing between the lugs. So though this is a 39, I advise you to think of it as more of a 41 or even a 42 in terms of how it fits, because these lugs are broadly spaced. The watch has an impressive stance, but you can see those lugs do press out just about to the edge of my wrist. I'll pull my sleeve back, though you can see the watch would easily fit underneath it for times when discretion is required. The lugs are not quite over the edge of my wrist, which is why I think you could wear this watch on a wrist as small as 15 centimeters circumference. You can see it is quite low, with a sloped and double-stepped bezel, easy to wear underneath a sleeve, so it is a dress watch in addition to a sports watch. Taking a look at the strap, you can see that the strap has a little bit of a tendency to fight and flare. This is one of the reasons why I encourage you to think of this as more of a 41 or a 42, because the strap wants to flare out over the edge of your wrist. You can't pull it straight down out of the lugs, and that's because the strap, in addition to having a lot of thickness and body for durability, it conforms to the profile of the case so it can't flex in between the lugs. The strap features a little pyramid pattern that's been molded in to give it some definition, and then on the underside we have a wave motif that recurs several times on the watch. You can see it on the snap-shut folding clasp, which is both polished and satinated. See that wave pattern in the buckle itself? Well, you can see it again in the strap minders, which are made of yellow gold. They interlock. They have that wave pattern on the bottom. You can see they are hallmarked gold. Most strap minders are made of rubber, just like the strap. So this is a very upscale look. You can see that the buckle is fixed to the strap using screws and bars, and the strap is fixed to the case using screws and bars, which is a very upscale way of attaching a strap to a case. It's also the more secure way. It's really the way it should be done. It's harder to pop that strap out of the lug than it would be if that were a spring bar. Now, it is a full conforming strap, so it matches the slope of the lugs, but also the curve of the case. So the watch has a very integrated look, as though it were on a bracelet. You can see that wave motif echoed again in the crown guard structure, and yet again on the rose lathe cut guilloche of the winding rotor. Turning to the dial after our two-step double gadroon bezel, the dial is a disc of solid gold. As I mentioned earlier, it is a blank of solid gold, like a gold coin, and then it is cut on a rose lathe. You can say it says Swiss guilloche main. That means hand guilloche. A guillocheur with a rose lathe will guide his engine to create these patterns using a combination of pressure and cams. And this is a reductive guilloche. It's not the cheap stamped guilloche that you see elsewhere in the industry. And stamped guilloche appears even on six-figure watches, so this is quite a distinction on a watch priced at less than that. The dial, of course, has several different cuts. You can see there's a satin that's brushed that runs around the outer face, the minutes and seconds track, and then the hour track. Then we have our billowing sort of spiral rosette pattern from the center. We have applied Roman numerals, fired blue and steel. We also have fired blue steel Breguet hands at center. We'll do a quick lume shot here. The watch is 100 meters water resistant and has plenty of luminescence, so you'll have no trouble regarding this as a true sports watch. Note the hands are blue and the indices are green, so you can easily distinguish them relative to each other. There's a wonderfully serify font down in the Big Date or Grand Date down at 6 o'clock. And we do have a quick set system for that double-digit Big Date. The watch does not have hacking, as the movement does not include a hacking lever, but a little bit of back pressure can stall the second sand, allowing you to set it against a reference time if you want to be super precise, and I always do. The crown is a screw down, Breguet branded. Turning it all over, you can see that the base is a Frederic Piguet 1150, but it's been upgraded for sports watch duty with a higher beat rate for potentially better shock tolerance. So it has a 4 hertz beat rate instead of a 3 hertz beat rate. As a result, the watch has a 65-hour power reserve rather than the 1150's 100, but again, it is better suited to sports watch duty. Rather than a stamped rotor, once again, we have real guilloche, automatically winding, 2 mainspring barrels to achieve that 65-hour power reserve. It is a 35 joule movement that is impressively adjusted in 5 positions, which is the standard for high horology and chronometer timepieces. It has 2 barrels, which gives it an above-average power reserve, but also ensures that it has a more even torque release. Even a 65-hour power reserve single-barrel movement, even though it has the same power reserve, is going to see more fluctuation in its timekeeping and more fluctuation in the torque it sends to the escapement. A twin-barrel movement can obviate many of those shortcomings. So that's the reason, as much as power reserve, that we have the twin barrels. It's nicely finished. You can see that there's Côte de Genève across the bridges. Screw heads are black polished with chamfered slots in circumference. The anglage is bright and mirrored. There's engine turning on the base plate, satination on the wheels, and then a lovely solarization on each of the 2 mainspring barrels. So it is quite fetching. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.